The clips coming out of DC are terrible. Dystopian. Checkpoints on the street, masked men intimidating people, dragging people from their cars and their homes, from their own front porches as they enjoy their morning coffee. It's weird to see Hummers on the street when you check out a museum. This isn't about crime or homelessness, it's about intimidation. It's a show of force from a government who thinks some people count and other people don't. There are people online just celebrating the demolition of these homeless encampments. And look, I live in LA. I understand wholeheartedly that homeless encampments are both an eyesore and a social problem. But how does bulldozing people's last possessions solve homelessness? These people have been thrown out by society, and we're just treating their last few things that they have in the world as garbage? We're treating them like garbage? When did we become such a heartless society? DC currently has at least 800 National Guard and military on the street. They have federalized the DC police force and added to those numbers with hundreds more National Guards from West Virginia, Ohio, Tennessee, Mississippi, and South Carolina as part of what the administration is calling a federal crackdown, the DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force. The Trump administration is claiming this is a necessary action to restore order, when in reality, DC crime is at the lowest it's been in decades, causing experts to point out that this move wasn't so much a response to crime as an authoritarian push to solidify Trump's power and authority over the city. Trump and his people have also said that they plan on similar troop deployments to other major cities to, quote, get things under control. And the cities that have been mentioned are New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Oakland, Baltimore, and Newark. Trump has called these cities very bad regarding crime and homelessness and said that their Democratic mayors and governors are going to learn their lesson. He said, we are starting very strongly with DC, but we're going to go further. And we need to note that the President of the United States has no authority to do any of this, which is why the mayors of these cities have been pushing back and calling out Trump's attempt to undermine not only their authority, but American constitutional democracy. Now, if we could trust the Supreme Court or a Department of Justice, we would expect them to step in and stop this government overreach. But under this regime, we can't trust either of those groups to do anything. We know Trump is going to overstep to exert his power. So it's essential that we don't treat it as inevitable, that we continue to talk about how unjust and how unconstitutional this all is. We should also push back on how the excuse of cutting back on crime cannot possibly be true. Because if this was really about crime, the top cities in the nation for crime are Memphis, Tennessee, and St. Louis, Missouri, neither of which are being threatened with the invasion of federal troops. Quite frankly, if we're being entirely honest about crime, according to the Morgan Law Group's yearly list, the 10 most dangerous states in America are all Republican-controlled. Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Montana, Alabama, Florida, Missouri, Tennessee. So if this was about crime and violence, we would expect Trump to be sending his safe and beautiful task force to these red states. Instead, every city the administration has mentioned is a democratically controlled city with a black mayor. The exception being Eric Adams in New York, who changed his affiliation from Democratic to Independent after Trump had his federal corruption charges dropped earlier this year. Now, this isn't to say that there isn't crime, that people shouldn't be concerned about violence or lawbreaking, because they should. But that if we really want to solve these issues, we need to be starting with the root causes for the crime and the homelessness. Things like low wages and high rent and extraordinary medical costs, lack of education, limited access to social services, and unlimited access to firearms. Crime is a real problem, but this is not the way to solve it. This is just a way to show force and fill jails, which in America we all know is a for-profit endeavor. The bottom line is, we have a president using the American military on his own people. And no matter what excuse is given for doing that, we need to be clear-minded that these actions are not only illegal when you consider the Posse Comitatus Act, which restricts the use of federal troops for domestic law enforcement, but also just wholly un-American. Our troops did not sign up to intimidate and fight their fellow citizens, or to destroy the remaining possessions of our society's most dispossessed, many of whom are veterans themselves. No, this isn't about safety. It's about control. And I think it's very essential that we never stop pointing out how wrong this all is.